you looking for a different level of truth about your challenges and struggles? Then be a part of the Yes and podcast, hosted by empowerment strategist and trauma specialist Jennifer Whitacre. Every Wednesday, we challenge conventional thinking on topics like trauma, healing, and so much more. Learn life lessons and great nuggets of wisdom from guests who've moved through their pain and suffering to discover a new purpose in life. Now, here's your host, Jennifer Whitacre.
Hi, everyone. This is Jennifer Whitacre, and you are watching or listening to another episode of Yes and. And today's guest on Yes and is Damien Rider. Damien is an author, a multiple world record ultra adventure athlete, that's a mouthful, the creator of One Breath Meditation, Cold Immersion Meditation, and a global motivational speaker. Damien is recognized for his international humanitarian work, his physical feats, and his TED Talk. He's also featured in a documentary called Heart of the Sea that's available for purchase on iTunes. In his documentary, he tells his story of childhood abuse and the horrific circumstances he endured in his childhood, including rape and physical abuse. Damien, welcome to the show. It's an honor to have you here, and I'm really honored and humbled that you're willing to come on here and share your story and talk about how you got through some of these horrible circumstances in your childhood to create the humanitarian effort and all of the impressive feats that you're doing today.
Yeah, thanks for having me on the show. Thanks for allowing me to share my message with your audience as well. I mean, it's such an important message that we should get out there. So, yeah, I'm really happy to be on here. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. So if you don't mind, let's begin by just telling us a little bit about your childhood. What exactly was your childhood like?
So it's a very confusing time, my whole childhood, really. I grew up with no father or no father figure. I had a violent and alcoholic grandmother that was violent towards my mother in her upbringing. And then from the age of 2, pretty much, she'd get drunk and violent towards me. And that sort of continued on for a little bit. We traveled around a lot, moving places, hitchhiking by truck from state to state in Australia. So we settled in South Australia in Adelaide, and things were okay. It was just my mother, my sister, and I, and we were in this place called Adelaide in Glenelg. We were there for about a year, and then my brother came, which I didn't even know I had a brother. So that was a bit of a surprise, but he was a little out of control, and he had some issues that he was dealing with himself. He'd gone through his own child abuse with his biological father and stepmother as well. So, I didn't realize any of that at the time. I'm 6-7-year-old kid, so trying to understand those sort of things, it was a bit hard. All I saw was this kid who I thought, I would love, and he was a couple of years older than me, but, really aggressive towards everyone, really disrupted our home. But then, I started to understand that there was things going on that I didn't know about. Then my mother, she couldn't really deal with anything because she went through her own child abuse as well throughout her life, her and her 9 brothers and sisters through her mom, her grandmother. So she was emotionally detached from anything to be able to deal with that, and even to be able to talk to. And then she brought a partner into the house, and I was waking up just this one night with, police sirens and lights flashing in the front yard, and, I looked out my bedroom window, and, there's this big guy, he's just beating up all the police on the front lawn. And then for some reason they left, and he came inside, and it kind of just went on from there, really. And it just grew and escalated, and it was just, this crazy roller coaster ride that we sort of went on for the next 18 months, I guess, where sometimes it'd be okay. Other times, the whole house would get smashed up. There'd be blood all over the walls, holes in the walls. I'd be dragged out of my bed, clothes ripped off, forced to watch my mum get raped myself. My brother would try and help. He would get knocked down as well. You know, many times I'd have to escape the house and run down to the beach, which was just down the road, about a quarter mile down the road, and just hiding in rock caves down there. And, you know, it's pretty cold, like going through the winter, just hiding at the beach in these little rock caves. And so that was kind of my life, you know. It was like every day just sort of not knowing whether you're going to live or not. And, you know, I'd have bruises and everything on me, and I'd go to school. You know, I'd get put on detention because the principal would think I'm fighting on the way to school because I turn up with all these bruises, and trying to tell him that the bruises happened at home, you know, and no one would really listen to me or believe me or anything as well. So it was, you know, it was pretty hard. And I went to the police a few times, and not much really got done. They just kind of sent you home again, and no neighbours would look out the window when things were happening, but just want to hide away and didn't want to know about it, or you know. So it was pretty lonely time for me, and I guess for everyone in our household. You know, like there was no one really to turn to for it, and again, you know, no advice or anything. So I just kind of trying to find my own ways to deal with things and stay out of the house. So on the weekends and school holidays, you know, instead of just playing with friends, I'd be down looking for new rock caves that I could sleep in that were bigger, and knowing that I was going to have to go down there, or cut out lantana, which is like these big bushes that live on the beach, cut them out. So I had like a place that I could go to for refuge when it was happening again. And, you know, so looking back, you know, it became sort of normal that's what I need to do on my time off. But looking back, you're like, that's, you know, it's far from normal to have time out to go and find a place where you knew you had to go and find refuge because you knew it was going to happen again, just out of survival, you know. And this is, you know, I'd be 6, 7 years old, living on the streets by myself, you know, fending for myself for days on end. You know, it was, it's a pretty confusing time.
Yeah, and on your website, the page that talks about your documentary, Heart of the Sea, you say that from the age of 6, you were seeking refuge in these rock caves. You call them jetties. And now, are the jetties or rock caves? I guess in my mind, I thought that was a man-made structure. I was picturing like jetties in Australia as boardwalks here in the States. So is that the rock cave, the jetties? Is that what you're talking about?
Nah, 2 different locations. So there'd be like just natural rock caves that were formed, you know, on the beach, and then jetties as well, which I'd have to walk up to, which is sort of the main part of the town, I guess. And so I'd sleep under there as well.
But you were doing this from age 6.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So I hope the listeners can just pause for a moment and take that in. At age 6, you were seeking refuge and seeking shelter and seeking safety that you couldn't find in your own home.
Yeah.
Because of the abuse and the turbulence and what was going on. And at the same time, you look back and you notice that in your childhood, that wasn't normal. That was your normal. And you were finding ways to find resources for yourself. It sounds like you didn't have any support or any resources in your life or any people you could turn to. So you found a way to create your own.
Yeah, that's exactly right. You know, and
and that's amazing. That's an amazing thing when it comes to resilience, how we can create our own support and resources.
Yeah, definitely out of survival. That's what you got to do, you know. And you know, and I guess it's not until recently, you know, when I did this big paddle that you know, I understood the resilience that was getting built up by these challenges throughout my life, you know. Instead of, I was just happy to get through them like most people, you know. We're happy to get through situations in our life and continue on and go, oh, God, glad that's over with. I mean, all those things built up, and, you know, it was definitely, I always knew I had something more in me and something more to give, and there was, you know, something different about me and a reason to keep on going. You know, so it's, I don't know. Look, it's built the person who I am now. And, you know, I'm able to share this story with other people. That gives them a voice and it gives them a little bit more hope to be able to keep going and knowing that, you know, they too can get through it. there's always someone who's had a tougher life than us, and you know, people go through their tough times, and it's all relative to who they are and where they are at this point in their life. That was just they were the cards that were dealt for me, you know, and it's just it just built me who I am now.
Yeah. And I know that you mentioned that whenever you tried to turn to police, you know, like the police in the neighborhood didn't offer any assistance.
No.
Did that happen throughout your childhood? I mean, was this the circumstances from like age 6 until you were an adult?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Like I
That
lost,
was,
I lost full respect for authorities and that, because I'm like, well, you're allowing this to happen. You've got guns, you can stop this, you know, you're a kid, you go, just shoot the dude, you know, but obviously, you know, they can't just do that. But as a kid, you're thinking, you know, why can't you, you know? So, yeah, so I lost, you know, a lot of respect for authority and the law in itself, you know, and I pretty much live my life like I use the law now and rules as like a guideline, you know, so long as my intentions are right and I'm morally sound in what I'm doing, then I'll kind of just coast along my own way, you know. I don't stick by strict rules and strict laws. Yeah, I just kind of go along and make sure I do the right thing, you know, by other people, what I feel's right, you know. Not that I don't like the police or anything at all, you know. They do a great job in what they do. It's tough what they do. You know, just one of those circumstances, they just weren't there for me.
yeah. That's a problem here in the United States as well, with not having the backing of the police or criminal justice system or the legal system whenever there are cases of child abuse or domestic violence, things like that, especially with domestic violence in this country. It is really, really hard for women who are abused to find any support in the criminal justice or legal system to help get out of it. So they're left on their own in most circumstances to figure it out.
Yeah.
Oftentimes the children and the women are not believed in this country. You know, yeah, what are you whining about? Are you saying this just to, you know, because you didn't get your way at home, things like that. And it really is, the problem is minimized and people are left on their own. And it sounds like it's similar in Australia. Now, has that changed since you were a child, or is it similar? Like if there are children who are right now living through what you did when you were a child, has that changed in Australia with the police or legal system, or do you even know? I don't.
Yeah, look, I mean, I think they want to make a change. They know they need to, but it's, you know, it's a very slow process of what's going on. Like I know, I'm very good friends with some police officers who work in child abuse units, like on the Gold Coast, and they do absolutely incredible work. You know, it's just it's mind blowing of what they deal with every day that the general public just aren't even aware of how rife it is and what actually happens on a day-to-day basis in different families, like whether it's, you know, normal domestic or foster care or whatever it is. You know, it's just you know, it happens a lot, and it's not just low economic sort of situation as well. You know, there's the neglect side of things from more wealthy families, just you know, putting other things first and not giving love, just giving a car instead of love. And you know, I mean, it's across the board. It's quite big. It is getting a little bit better in Australia, and it's becoming more aware. And again, you know, this is why I do these sort of talks and share this story as well, to open it up, to have people be able to listen. And recently, a couple of years ago, I was a keynote speaker for the Australian Royal Commission on Institutionalised Sexual Child Abuse. So that was a historical moment for the globe, really. And you know, so that spoke about, even though that mine wasn't institutionalised, but I was still able to get that message out there of what happens afterwards. You know, it's, you know, the bruises might go away, but the pain remains for a long time unless you can try and work out how to fix it. You know, and that's bringing like the Catholic churches and the schools and this and that, you know, sporting groups that are affecting these children along the way. finally bringing them to justice as well, and just getting people to really stand up and take note of what's going on. There's another organisation that I work with called Project Karma. So they work a lot with sex trafficking over in Southeast Asia. They also changed the law so no pedophiles allowed to leave Australia. So they can't go to Southeast Asia, to where it's pretty rife there. Another organisation I work with is called Child Safe in Australia. So they implement all the guidelines for any organisation that works with children of what they should do, shouldn't do, all the regulations and everything, keeping them up to date as well. So, these are proactive people. They're not just raising awareness, they're actually doing something about it. And I think if we had more charities or more organisations that were actually doing something about it rather than just raising the awareness, I think we'd see a lot more change going on.
Okay. And could you just help clarify for the listeners, because I see that as a problem too. What's the biggest difference between just raising awareness and actually doing something about it? Can you give some concrete examples here?
So raising awareness is most.
That's our thoughts and prayers on Facebook, right?
God. It's funny. The little guys seem to raise more awareness and do more than the actual guys who get the hundreds of millions of dollars of funding every year, because they're too busy about just raising awareness for their brand and the word of the cause, and put the marketing money into that so they can get more funding, government funding for the next year. That's what raising awareness is. I think raising awareness should be education. Should educate people on what it actually is, who's affected by it, what's the statistics on it, and then give the tools of being able to overcome it as well. Not just put the fear monger in people so you can grab a couple of bucks off them. It's right. This is how we make changes. Because at the moment it's just like people get these organisations. It seems like they're so stuck on just raising awareness, and they know more raising awareness and putting scare tactics into people makes them more money. So they force that issue even more instead of trying to fix it with the money that they've got, which is so disappointing. Like, I've been doing this for a while now, and I've dealt with so many organizations, and they'll ask me to be an ambassador for them. And, I start looking at it and go, well, what are you actually doing? You get $900 million a year. What are you actually doing? You're not doing anything to make changes. And the organizations that I align with, like Project Karma and Child Safe, they're so proactive about doing things. They get out there, they help change the laws, change the rules. They're doing things. They know that something needs to be changed. So it's
Okay. So if one of our listeners who's sitting in their house or office or car right now, what are a couple tips that you could give them on something they could actually do rather than just raise awareness?
One big thing for me is when I do my endurance events, people ask me, as soon as I finish, they say, how much money did you raise? And I don't raise any money for it because I feel it takes away from the message, because people ask that question. And if I say I raised $10,000, they might say, oh, well, you did your best. So the focus is on that money side of things rather than in return, I say to them, shouldn't you be asking how many people did I save? Because that's what it's all about. It's not just about handing over some money and thinking that you did something good. You're better off going to actually do something, go and help somewhere. There's a lot of orphanages out there that need supplies. There's a lot of kids that need help. There's homeless kids. There's so many things you can do. You can go and help with cookouts, like actually be proactive to go out and take time out of your life to do it, not just click a button to send donate and here's $10. I'm doing everything. I'm changing the world because I've donated $10. Because usually that $10 will end up about 60 cents will actually go to the cause once it's all filtered out with admin, marketing, branding, and everything like that. So you're better off just going there to do it, or if you're going to donate money to like a local cause, take that money and say, right, what do you need? And actually go and get supplies, or go and help the kids, give them English lessons, give them something, upskill these kids so they've got a future moving forward. is a much better way. And it's more rewarding because you see these children, they're so appreciative of it, you know, that you've actually taken time out of your own life to give back to someone else, you know, and it's so rewarding for you. Like in the US, I work with this organization called Samaritan's Feet. And they're incredible. Like, you know, I've joined them for homeless people and in schools to go and wash kids' feet and give them shoes. You know, now, when I was in Charlotte, handing out shoes and washing feet for the kids there, they were coming in and didn't even know what size shoe they were. They'll say, oh, I'm a size 13, like a little shoe. And you'd get a 13, you go, that's not it. And then they'd be like a size 3 shoe.
Oh,
You know?
wow. That's a big difference.
Yeah, so their toes are like crinkled up, you know, and you see them once they get their feet in, their toes are flat out. It's like they're walking on clouds, you know. They're like, they dance around instantly because they're like, oh, my God, is this what shoes are meant to be like? You know what I mean? It's just those little things like that. Or when I skateboarded across America, you know, there was these kids that I dealt with out of Gallup. And one of them had odd shoes on. He had his one of his shoes were cut open, so his toes were hanging out. I said, what's going on with your shoes? And he goes, well, it's the only way it could fit. And I said, you know, you got odd shoes on. And he's like, well, they're the only shoes that I could find. And I'm like, oh, do you know what size foot you are? And he goes, no, I've never had new shoes. I don't know. And he was roughly my size. He's about 16, this kid. And so I stood next to him. I'm like, well, it looks about my size. So I gave him this new pair of Vans skate shoes. And he put these shoes on, and it was just like, he couldn't stop thanking me, you know, something so simple of giving like these pair of shoes to this kid who just never had it in his life. And I told him, like, you know, for your information, you're a size 11 and a half shoe. You know, and he was so excited to know he was a size 11 and a half, and telling all his, hey, I'm an 11 and a half, you know, like, and just, again, something so simple, but just to give in that way, you know, give your time and give selflessly to someone else. You know, it's so important to them, and it's so important to us as well. And as a community collective, that's what we should be doing, looking out for each other, not just think we're going to just chuck a couple of bucks and everything's going to be okay. We've done our part. Anyone can give money for things, and money is needed a lot of the times, but to actually go and do something, then, you know, it's so much more rewarding for the people you're trying to help.
Yeah. And you actually get to connect with another soul in the process.
Exactly.
So I love that answer. Like, actually volunteer your time or do something more than just click the button and donate money. Yeah. So Damien, I'd like to circle back to your personal story a little bit here, because I know, again, on the Heart of the Sea website, you mentioned that years into adulthood, your life, you were still suffering in your life as a result of what happened to you. So can you share a little bit about how your childhood affected your adulthood?
Yeah. So 34 years of my life, you know, it was controlled. Like, I had good moments in my life and everything as well. Like, but all throughout my life, I was just trying to, you know, it was so confusing. I didn't know who I was, what I was supposed to do. I was listening to others. I was trying to get influenced by everyone. I was just constantly sitting there looking around, seeing why other people were happy and I wasn't happy. Were they truly happy? Was I happy, or was I just smiling and dark on the inside? You know, I'd get triggered off from smells, sounds, visuals, constantly triggered for what happened in my past, and just really emotionally connected throughout most of my life to my past and the trauma that was happening. And, you know, it really affected everything in my life, from relationships to my self-worth to, you know, but also stuck on that routine of living each day as my last day, you know. So it's just, you know, I went through drug and alcohol abuse, sex abuse, you know, I traveled the world. Everything I was trying to do was trying to find this happiness, you know. And I had successful businesses, but it was all for the wrong reason, you know. I was making money, but it was just so I could buy like a new car and go, yeah, this is what's going to make me happy. And it did, you know, like for a day or two, and then that's it. You're like, wow, well, that didn't do it. So now what, you know? So there's all these dead end projects, you know. I do them, succeed, get to it, and go and stop and go, now what? And then I'd probably spiral all the way back down, get on drugs, alcohol, spiral out of control, not have any self-worth at all. and then pick myself up again and start again and go, right, okay, well, I'm going to try this way and I'll go and do this. So it was just, it's just this endless cycle that was going on of up and down.
Mm-hmm.
It was just so mentally draining, physically draining, emotionally draining, everything, it's just wasn't a good way to live. And I was hurting myself and I was hurting other people around me. I had no trust with anyone really, and especially towards females, because my mother had allowed this to happen as well, and she wouldn't speak out about it. And then when I was 22, she sent me a letter saying, your dad's not this guy, it's this other guy. So like my whole life had pretty much been a lie. And, I always thought my brother and sister's dad was my dad, but ended up it wasn't. It was some other dude that my mum had cheated on with her husband. And, so it was all this crazy stuff. And then, so I put all that blame onto me, that because I was born and because this happened, that this is what happened to my mother and my brother and sister as well. So I carried that a long time as well. I had a mild heart attack when I was 22, just overloaded on everything. And just, again, still spiraling out of control. I had 4 suicide attempts. I got married, and then, it was tough. I was trying to speak out for the first time, and she wasn't there for me as I thought she would have been.
Mm-hmm.
So, so that was hard, but she was dealing with her own things as well. So because her talking about her childhood situation would trigger off me, I didn't want to reverse it back and start talking too in depth about mine and trigger off hers also. So, so that was a pretty tough time. And then my real dad, he actually died at that time. So I was like, all these answers had kind of died with him, the only one who could answer all these things. So that was pretty tough for me as well. And then, went through a divorce because of it. And I tried to commit suicide again. And that was the last time, and, luckily I was found just like seconds before it was all over, basically. And, and I decided to make a real change in my life after that.
Yeah. And you said in there that you were stuck on living as if every day were the last day.
Yeah.
What exactly do you mean by stuck in that? Because there are a lot of coaches and gurus out there who encourage people to live every day as if it's your last day.
Yeah.
And you're saying you're stuck in it. So I want to pick that apart a little bit and find out, because what gurus tell us isn't always the best advice.
It's not. I mean, you still got to forward think. Like I live every day till it's a difference, but you live every day to its fullest. You don't live every day like it's your last day. So there's a big difference. So I would just destroy myself or be crazy reckless, just thinking, well, I'm not going to wake up tomorrow anyway. Or, you have such low self-esteem, self-worth that, if you were to die, who cares? It's that sort of thing. So yeah, it's, and I always hear this from gurus and stuff as well. And people go, yeah, I live. And it's like, well, you don't, because that's not the way to live. Like now, after I did my paddle, I know in my head, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to live for another 100 years. I'm like, yeah, I'm never going to go. You know what I mean? Like if what I've been through and what I put myself through hasn't got rid of me and I'm still here, well, I must still be here for a reason. So I'm going to live for 100 years. So I've got shit I've got to do, But at the same time, I live each life to the fullest. Like I'm happy every day. Not every day, but like pretty much like I'm have a happiness, and I live how I want and where I want, and I travel and I share the message how I want, and impact other people, and I make massive sacrifices on my own life for other people, but this is my choice to do this as well, and again, that's why I don't ask for donations from people, because I understand that this is my cause and this is my journey as well. Like other people don't have to fund how I choose to live my life and the impact that I choose to make on other people. If they do want to support, amazing. But usually, like I get asked a lot for people if they can donate, say, $1,000 because I've helped their wife because she went through all this trauma as well. And
Mhm.
usually I just tell them to go and get something like paddle boards for themselves to go out paddling, because if they
Mhm.
give me the money, that's what I would do back for someone else,
Mhm.
so that's my gift giving back to them, to keep impacting the world in a better way. Like I healed and saved myself, not through money, through paddling in the ocean. All the
Mhm.
money in the world didn't do it, and I had everything. I had my hands onto everything, to be whatever, but it wasn't making me happy,
Mhm.
and so that's what I try and share that message with other people. You don't need all this money. And people
Mhm.
always say to me as well, like, oh, if I had the money, I'd help all these people. And it's like, well, I started off, I didn't have any money, and I still helped all these people, millions of
Mhm.
people, you know.
Yeah.
So it's, you don't need the money. You just need to be true to yourself. Like, do you want to make money or do you want to help people? It's
Yeah.
kind of simple for
Mhm.
me.
Yeah. And it sounds like, and you've said it, that paddleboarding, really has helped save you. And, again, going back to your website, I know that you talk about um, paddleboarding for 17 days. And I'm probably going to, from my little Midwestern accent, hack the names. Coolangatta, did I say that
Uh-huh.
right?
Pretty
To,
much.
to Bondi Beach. Is it Bondi Beach or Bondi?
Bondi, yep.
Bondi. Okay, so you paddled for 17 days and from Coolangatta to Bondi Beach in Sydney.
Yep.
So it sounds like that was a really big turning point for you in your life. Um,
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
so can you talk a little bit about that and a little bit about your mindset and what was going on? Like what um, what encouraged you from inside yourself to get on that paddleboard for 17 days? And
So after the last suicide attempt, I knew I needed to make some changes. So I just started to think about where I was the most happiest in my life, and the most free, and also vulnerable, as well. And that was back in the ocean surfing. So I left the city that I was in and went back to the ocean and started paddling and surfing again. And I knew the ocean had something special in it, so I just wanted to really engulf myself in it. So I grabbed a paddleboard from the local surf club and just paddled like about a mile out to sea, straight out by myself. And I was feeling vulnerable out there, and it was just, I'd surfed most of my life but not paddleboarded. It's kind of different muscles you use. So I was in a little bit of pain, and
Mhm.
with the physical pain, emotional pain was coming through, and there was no one to really turn to, or no walls that I could put up, and there was no bars out there. I could just quickly grab a schooner or something, So
Mhm.
I had to start facing it, and so I came in, and I knew there was something special there, so I just wanted to explore that a lot more, and then I just really thought about, I'd lived my life, even though I'd done things semi my way. I'd had so many influences from other people, and being told, and therapists telling me how I should do things and how I should live, and that I'm going to live with this emotion for the rest of my life and the trauma for the rest of my life. And I wanted to make a full change, so I decided I'd just break myself all the way back down to my raw foundations and put everyone aside for a moment and just rebuild myself from ground up again, just how I knew I should. And if I made the mistakes, then they were my mistakes that I would learn from. They weren't words or thoughts from someone else who hasn't even been through the trauma that I've been through, like most therapists. And so I was just like, right, this is what I'm going to do. And I trained as hard as I could, and I just wanted to build the strongest version of myself that I could, inside and out. And I trained for 8 months and got rid of my car, and if I need to get anywhere, I'd run, and train harder than I ever had. And yeah, just limited myself to contact with other people, just so I could, when I came back out, I was, the strongest version I could be. And then I ended up, I just did this paddle. I walked down to my local beach and I started this paddle. And really, it was just to raise awareness of child abuse, and just to tell people, go jump in the ocean. It, has these amazing healing qualities. It's helped me find my peace with it, strengthened me, all that sort of stuff. And before I started the paddle, I thought I was at pretty good peace and a pretty good place, in my life to what had happened, and I'd built myself up pretty strong, and I was like, okay, I'm going to take this on. But yeah, I mean, what I faced along the way, and then what happened to me when I reached my final destination in Bondi completely changed my life forever. You know, I was at a peace that I didn't even know existed, and I was proud of myself beyond what I thought I ever could be. And I'd never really been proud of myself, even though I'd achieved a lot. It's pretty tough to be proud of yourself when you're always, hard on yourself as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And in the middle of all of that, everything that you just said and explained, and I just want to point this out for the listeners, was the shift. There was an internal shift in your mindset from, this is where I am in life because of all the stuff that happened to me, to I'm better than this. So the shift from being the victim of your circumstances to taking responsibility for your life and taking charge of it and choosing that, what happened to me is not going to define me.
Yeah, definitely.
So you kind of went through like explaining that. And again, I just want to point it out to the listeners, because the first part, being the victim of your circumstances, is that external locus of control. There's something outside of me that's controlling what's happening to my life, and I'm helpless, I'm hopeless, I can't do anything about it, to that internal shift that happens to, I do have the power to do something about it. I can hold myself accountable from today forward, not necessarily saying that you're accountable for what happened to you as a child. A 6-year-old child does not invite those circumstances into his life ever. And at the same time, when you go through into adulthood and you get out of childhood, you had that realization that that's not going to define your life. And you took personal responsibility and accountability for yourself to move forward. And that's the missing piece, I think, for a lot of people. And that and it's a personal shift. It's a different experience for everyone. So, and again, I like to point it out, just to help people realize that, there are these moments in life that sometimes we miss them, and they're so important. If we just hold on to them, it can be life-changing.
Yeah, definitely. Like I had a few changes, and growth spurts, I guess, like through the whole process. Because that was that first one, taking ownership of my own life, not having it in the hands of other people. When we go through trauma, and people go through trauma, we're so quick to look outwards, to therapists or self-help books or positive affirmations on social media. But what we don't understand is, these are connections of a breath of someone else. They're not ours. So it's only short-lived. It's just like buying a car. You're happy for a bit, but then that's it. It kind of wears off. But it's because we don't have that connection. So I really built that strong connection and with myself to be able to get through. And I pushed myself hard during these trainings, knowing that I was doing it and I was getting through it. And going back to, the guru's got to live each day like it's your last day and all that. It's when I first started the paddle, it was very high chance that I wasn't going to make this paddle alive, paddling over sharp breeding grounds, being alone in the ocean, the storms, everything I was going to face along the way. When I first started off, I was, in my mindset, I was willing to die for what I believed in. I was willing to do this. And if I die doing this, well, I die. And then it got to about the 5th day, and I had a complete different mindset of it. It was now I wasn't willing to die. I was now living for what I believed in. And each day was me living to continue on. I was still going on the same journey to the same destination. It was just that little mindset twist, that just changed absolutely everything again, So I was no longer, and from that day, I didn't think each day was going to be my last day. I was like looking 50 and 100 years ahead going, this is what I'm going to do here, and I'll just keep ticking on. But, living life to its fullest, living for life and living for other people, not willing to die for other people, not thinking I'm going to die every single day. That's just silly, and I still do extreme events, like crazy events, but it's just a big difference. Like it's a difference between me launching off a cliff on a snowboard and going, well, I'm going to do it. And if I die, I die. I'm going to die doing something I love. I've got no doubt I'm going to make this.
Mm-hmm.
I've got absolutely no doubt in my mind, and I'll go and do it, and
Mm-hmm.
it's just because this is me living. This is how I live, and this is what I want to share with other people of what's possible and what you can do, to be able to keep going and take the fulfillment out of everything in life and not limit yourself to what other people think is impossible or that you can or can't do. It's just go out and explore it and do it yourself and strengthen yourself and give that resilience to yourself, knowing what you can do. And what
Mm-hmm.
everyone can do is a hell of a lot more powerful than they give themselves credit for,
Mm-hmm.
Like I do these massive endurance events, but everyone's on a huge endurance event. Everyone in life is,
I was going to say that's life. That's life.
Right,
It's an endurance event. Yes.
That's right. I do 17-day and 56-day ones, and they're
Mm-hmm.
intense. But so is everyone's life, 30,
Mm-hmm.
40, 50, 60 years. Everyone's going through this huge endurance event of these obstacles that they've got to overcome and work out how they overcame that obstacle. So when they
Mm-hmm.
get to the next one, they know they can get through it a little bit easier. And each
Mm-hmm.
obstacle becomes easier and easier, until they're just like nothing. They just go up and over the wall. And it's
Right.
the same as if we think about how we've got ourselves through all these challenges in life and
Mm-hmm.
really think about the good that we take out of everything, whether it seems good or bad at the time. There's life lessons to be learned, out of everything. And these are the tools that we take with us,
Mm-hmm.
we're like a tradesperson that just build up all these tools in our shed and we go, oh, here's an obstacle. Oh, right. Well, I need this tool for it, and just
Mm-hmm.
have those things internally within yourself to be able to just get over things. And, major issues just become nothing, For
Yeah.
me, now major issues that were like, oh, the end of the world before the paddle, if they're extreme, I'm like, all right, okay, here's a fun learning experience coming on
Mm-hmm.
here. Right? What can I do here?
Right.
It just becomes fun. Like you
Mm-hmm.
sit back and go, here we go again. Right. But I've got to
Mm-hmm.
know I can get through it because I know I've been through tougher times.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not going to be hard, Life's not tough. Life doesn't wake up and say, Damien's having an awesome day. I'm going to make this the worst day of his life. It's how
Mm-hmm.
we perceive everything, and it's how we react and act to every situation and every person that comes into our life, and
Mm-hmm.
how we see it negative or how we see it positive and what we take out of everything.
Yeah, absolutely. And to live life, as like you're saying, from that more empowered state, knowing that you can get through it, knowing that I'm living my life for this purpose now, instead of I'm willing to die for this purpose. There takes a level of awareness, self-awareness. So can you talk a little bit about that and how you shifted into that level of self-awareness to be able, because I think we really need to be aware of ourselves, aware of our motivations, able to observe ourselves, to think about what we think about. That takes a level of observation, and to be able to notice our patterns of behavior takes a level of observation and self-awareness. So can you talk about how that really happened for you?
Yeah, I mean, it happened on the paddle, because I was facing
Mm-hmm.
everything and all my demons are coming forward, and I had
Mm-hmm.
nothing but sharks and dolphins and jellyfish to sort of talk to along the way and look at,
Yeah.
I was just like, I had to face everything,
Mm-hmm.
as it came at me. And, but also, obviously, I had a lot of time, 13 hours in the water by myself, I had a lot of time to think about
Mm-hmm.
everything that had happened in my life, and the life
Mm-hmm.
lessons, and really, take time to understand. I didn't appreciate those lessons. I didn't appreciate those challenges of how they built my resilience up and how they built it up to be able to actually do this paddle that everyone said was impossible to do. To be
Mm-hmm.
able to get to that point, and to let everything come through. And, I was doing this thing called EMDR therapy, which is eye movement desensitization reprocessing. So
Yes.
my eyes were just like rapidly moving around while the emotions were coming forward, and I'm taking
Mm-hmm.
new information, so it just dilutes it out, at the same time. I didn't know it was a thing. I just thought, hey, this is what's happening, trying
Mm-hmm.
to just getting in tune with myself. But yeah, it's just huge shift for me to be able to go through that and understand and be proud of what I'd achieved as well. So many people, it's really hard to be proud of what you do. We go from one thing to another and we keep looking for that next thing, which is great, but we also got to be proud of what we did and what we got through as well, whether it's good, bad, ugly, no matter what it is, to be able to get through. And, and that's when you start bringing back your self-worth as well and be able to move forward. And also, I was looking at myself and going through, like, I had 21 shark encounters, knocked off my board by 15-foot white pointers, circled everything, There was no support boat. There was no one on land supporting. It was just me and the paddleboard and what I had to deal with along the way, and I could only move as fast as my hands could take me. So my hands are paddling in the water. It wasn't like I had a paddle or anything. So even when sharks were around, it was just my hands that had to keep me moving forward. So in my head, I'm like, are they going to get eaten? Are they going to get eaten? Are they going to get eaten? But I had to keep on moving. There was beaches where I just couldn't come in. I had to keep moving, and I could only go as fast as I could. And that's what happens in life as well. We want to rush through things, but reality is things take time. And healing yourself takes time as well. And it's about taking that ownership and the pride within yourself and the self-worth, giving that back to yourself. And you can take all the support and the advice from everyone, but ultimately it's you who is getting yourself up every single day to be able to get through the next day. People will come and go out of your life, but you're with yourself for the rest of your life, forever. You're the most powerful vessel that you have to get you through everything, no matter what happens or no matter who's there. You could have no one with you. You could have a million people behind you. Ultimately, it's you who are going into battle every single day to get through it. So everyone's got their own choice of what they do, and do they keep going or do they stop, And a lot of people choose to stop because the pain gets hard. But I'll tell you what, if you keep on going, it's bloody well worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. And you also, you do coaching with people now, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and do you coach people into a healthier mindset? Can you talk a little bit about your coaching and what you do in your coaching?
Yeah, definitely. So it's called One Breath Coaching. So I created this new form of meditation called One Breath Meditation. And so I've just written a book on it as well. So what it is, so, meditation has its place, traditional meditation. It's fantastic. I might never take anything away from it. I think people should practice it a bit more. But it's also done a lot, a long time ago it was created. So life's a little bit more complex now. So, and when you go through trauma, because throughout life, like we'd spoken about, there's different, I had my main trauma that happened to me, but that's not the only thing that's happened to me. Like everyone else, they don't just have one thing, so it shouldn't just be one way, one therapy that we try to overcome this situation.
Exactly.
You can't just go see a therapist. You can't just do meditation. You can't just do EMDR therapy. You can't just this or that, because they're complex. We need a complex form of being able to reprocess our brain waves, and to tap in, because we take in information differently. Some's visual, some's sound, some's movement, some's quiet. So we need to tap into all that side of things as well. So that's what I created. So, having this time to be able to do these long events, that's what it's about, for me. So I skateboarded Route 66 from Chicago to Santa Monica. It was 56 days, and it was purely about understanding and giving myself that time to understand what actually happened in the ocean, what happened and what's happened during my life. Like I'd always been told or asked, how are you able to keep moving forward when others are stopped? And that's not just in my physical events, that's in my life events as well that had happened to me. So, I really started thinking about that and just dissecting everything that I'd done intuitively throughout my life, and also what therapists had said to me as well. And just taking the best parts out of it, basically, and be able to combine it together to have something that is useful and it's in your back pocket, a solid tool, kind of like a Swiss Army knife, it's got like all the prongs on it, ready to go. You've got one tool in your back pocket, it does it all, and I wanted that to be able, so people keep going forward, because the thing with traditional meditation, again, not taking anything away from it at all, is, you know, people get reliant on grabbing their favorite mat, sitting next to their favorite tree for 25 minutes in the morning. The same music's going, wait for the bell, ding, and then it's all done, and then off they go. Well, during the day, when you have these triggers of trauma or arguments or heated moments in board meetings or whatever it might be, you can't just go, hang on, just got to grab my mat, give me 25 minutes and I'll come back.
Right?
You don't have that luxury. We don't have that luxury. You know?
Exactly. Yes. Yes.
And for me, with events, like as an athlete as well, I can't just call time out when I'm bombing down a hill or coming down a wave.
Right.
I can't just go, oh, hang on, this is way too much for me. My head's about to explode. I've got to have time out and jumping off. It's like, nah, I need something here and now to be able to keep going, you know? So, so that's how I was created, to be able to connect back with your breath and connect back with yourself. But it's simple for me to say, just breathe in, into your belly, hold for 2, slowly let it out through the mouth. And everyone can do that, but you need to have that strong connection with it. So I've built this 5-step program that brings in different elements and senses. So it takes you away, it brings you back to the breath, takes you away, it brings you back to a breath. And what it does is subconsciously simulates what happens in daily life with noises, visuals, everything that's happening, to be able to disconnect, give back to yourself, and then reconnect with what's going on in a calmer way instead of being reactive to the action.
Yeah.
So this is how it all started. I mean, I've been training people as like a PT, like physical coach and an athlete, a boxing trainer, everything for 27 years of my life. So it was kind of always I was going to move into this way. And because I'm so authentic, you know, again, you know, even before I did the paddle, I knew I wanted to start helping people, but I knew I was still screwy in the head. So I needed to sort myself out first and understand how I did it before I was able to help someone else, because or else who am I? You know, if I'm trying to help someone,
innate wisdom.
Doors, I'm like this, you know.
Yes, but that's innate wisdom in and of itself, to realize that you've got to get your own shit straight before you can help people with theirs. And again, a lot of gurus out there and coaches and mentors that don't do that. They're very clearly not walking the walk that they're talking about. So be wary of them.
Yeah, I meet them all. Believe me, I owned a wellness retreat in Australia, and they'd all come in. Oh, I've done this. I've got this. I've got this, and and give them all the benefit of the doubt and respect and everything. You have a talk, and then just think, I can see all the cracks happening here. Like, you know, like, I don't know. It's for me, it's funny because I've gone to these extremes. You know, for someone else to say, oh yeah, I did a weekend course, online course. You know, I understand everything about life, and you're like, all right, come on. You know, so it's, I have interesting conversations with people about that. But yeah, for me, it was about, you know, what am I here to share with other people if I'm not living it myself, you know, like, and it was so important to me. And I'm constantly every day, like, improving myself, you know, and sharing that with other people as well. You know, it's, people are so scared to let this message out or charge people ridiculous prices for it and stuff. And you're like, what are you doing it for? Like, to get rich or to help people? You know what I mean? It's just, I mean, you got to put a monetary value on things, of course, you know, or else people don't think you're worth it as well sometimes, which is strange. But look, for me, it's about just impacting as many people as I can on a physical, mental, and emotional sense, and simplifying it. You know, too many times, you know, people just overcomplicate things or use these ridiculous words that they don't even understand. And for me, you know, some of the therapists I've used have overcomplicated things, and it's just to try and make themselves sound smart and me sound dumb. So I got to keep coming back to them, you know, like, you know, just give it to me in simple terms, man. You know, I'm a guy, like, we need simple things. Like, this is how it is, you know. And so for me, that, you know, that's always been important. And it's kind of how I've lived as well, you know, like, I've always been able to break things down to its simplest form, whether I was boxing, training, or whatever, to be able to bring out that perfect jab or execute whatever it is, or running style, to be most efficient, to be able to keep on going. And, you know, so I've really worked on how everything works, and really watched how everything works. And as a kid, pulled apart bikes and everything to understand how they work and everything, you know. And that's really continued on throughout my life, to be able to break things down to simple forms for people. But, you know, so when I do most of this coaching, I do it in like a subconscious level. So it's more like, even though I'm the vessel that's driving it and it's all clear in my head of the process that's going to be going on, I allow the people, my clients, to think that they're having the growth themselves, you know, so it's a lot stronger. So then that way, when they leave, they don't need me to hold their hand for the rest of their life. It's like, you're strong, you're empowered, this is who you are. Now you can go forth, you know, not, you need me, keep paying me every week because you need me. It's like, if that's, you know, if that's what I'm thinking, well, I'm not doing my job.
Exactly.
You know,
Exactly.
Let's tune all this, let's have a listen to things, but let's keep you moving, you know, and the whole process of the thing is to be able to keep moving, you know, and understand that, you know, just because you come and see me doesn't mean that life's going to be like the Dalai Lama every single day and you're going to be floating around on a carpet or something, you know. It's, you know, there's still tough times, but they don't have to be tough times. They're just different lessons that you learn in life and what you can take out of it, you know, in such a positive way. And, you know, no matter what you're doing, you know, and to start living life on your terms, you know, and understand that how strong you are. So for me, it's, you know, it's about that. Like I train all sorts of people, whether it's just mental side of things, people who've gone through traumas, CEOs, if they're stuck with their companies, people who just want to get stronger physically as well, athletes who want to get faster, fitter, faster, stronger, all those sorts of things. But, you know, all of it kind of ties into, it's all the mindset, you know, if people are the same, you know, whether you're stuck in trauma or you've hit a plateau in your athletic abilities, you know, it's just that mindset to be able to go, okay, and be able to continue on, you know. So, yes, that's what I help instill into people.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that. I love that description because that's the type of coaching I do and refer my clients to, you know, somebody who takes that approach to coaching. And I love that you said that you're working with the subconscious, because if you're aware that you're working with the subconscious processes, you can help people heal. Absolutely.
Yes.
Because
Deeper.
so much more so, because when there is a wound in the subconscious, it's nonverbal. The conscious mind, it's our narrator that is verbal. And, you know, we get into the subconscious and that's nonverbal. That's our visionary. That's our experiencer. And, you know, there aren't a lot of words to put to that. So if you can willingly and knowingly help people work with their subconscious and learn to work with it, so it's not such a scary thing, because so many people are afraid of their own mind. They're afraid to go into the depths of their subconscious. And it's these irrational fears that we have about it. People are afraid of their demons. They're afraid of their baggage and skeletons in the closet. And once you start to dive into the work, it's not that bad. So, so you get it. And I love that. I love that you get it, because I do, you know, really try to bring people on my show who actually get healing and what it means to heal authentically, not just to avoid for now until you can find the next treatment that helps you avoid in a different way. Oh, let's look over here for now, and then I'll go do the next fad treatment or the next fad that goes around, and I'll look that way for a while. And a lot of those revolving door treatments, like you were talking about, you know, where you have to go forever and ever. They do. It's a lot of avoidance of the actual issues. So if your therapist or practitioner or whoever you're working with isn't encouraging you at some point to like move on and get your butt out the door and like go fly yourself, you might want to question that. Just saying.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. You know,
just saying.
I mean, I've had it all my life, you know. It's like, I've been a therapist for like 10 years, been for 20 years. And like, when are you going to get to a point and you go, this isn't working?
And and how's that working for you? How's that turning out? And
you know, it's but you got to get it. You know, they've got to get on that deeper understanding. You know, look, I think, you know, a lot of therapists and professionals and that, you know, they might start off and they have all good intentions and that for it, but you know, once it becomes a monetary thing, and it's just, the problem is because they may not have been through that sort of trauma, they don't even understand it themselves. They don't know how to overcome it. Like, you know,
Right.
war vets, and I was told, like most people with PTSD are told,
Mm-hmm.
you have to live with this for the rest of your life, and all you can do is learn to manage it.
Yeah. And that's not true.
That's not true. Like
That is not true.
I've passed
Yeah.
mine. Like it's
Yeah.
absolute bullshit. And that's the reason why I tried to commit suicide 4 times, because I didn't want to live with that for the rest of my life. I didn't want
Right.
to all day have these visual thoughts in my head every single day, these emotional attachments that were destroying my life every single day. I didn't want
Yes.
that. And here's a professional who's supposed to know telling me this, that I'm going to live with this for the rest of my life. Well, of
Mm-hmm.
course you want to end your life. It's like, I'm destroying my life and everyone else around. I can't keep doing this. My only option
Right.
is to check out, because this is going to continue forever. And it's so
Right.
wrong, you know, and for a therapist to say that to people, it's totally taking everything, they're taking their empowerment and everything away from these people, you know,
Mm-hmm.
of who they are and what they can achieve in life. And it's so wrong, those words. Like, I was watching this film not long ago, and it's about war vets, and they said exactly that. The therapist on there said exactly that, and I was trying to find the producer to just rip into him and go, how dare you, you know, like,
Yeah.
so many veterans out there are going to watch his film, and that's
Mm-hmm.
going to be drilled into their head, and they're going to think that you shouldn't take that hope away from people, you know, at all. What gives anyone the right to take that hope away from other people, you know, that they can heal and they
Right.
can get past this trauma, just because they don't understand how to do it, because they've never done it themselves.
Exactly.
It's
And that's what I was going to
terrible.
say is when a therapist says that to you, that's indicative. And I didn't see it until I got beyond my own complex post-traumatic stress, until I got to the other side, just like you're talking about.
Yeah.
Once I got to the other side of it and I wasn't symptomatic anymore, then I could look back at my therapist and say, wow, I get it now. My therapist was telling me this was going to be a lifelong struggle, because that's what she learned in a textbook and she's never experienced it herself.
Of course.
So if your therapist or practitioner or whoever it is saying things that just don't sit well with you and they don't feel right, explore, get another opinion, because there are people out there who not only have the textbook knowledge and the education, but also the experience to go with it. And really, there is no textbook out there anywhere that can substitute for the actual experience of it. And I'm not saying put yourself in abusive situations. Whatever situation you've struggled with, find a way to get through it and get to the other side of it, and you can help people who are struggling the way you once did. But
Yeah.
if you don't have the experience, then it's harder to take people through something if you don't have an experience of it and only textbook knowledge.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, textbooks need to be changed. I did a tour
Mm-hmm.
recently of the US on a motorcycle, and same thing. I went and spoke to Harvard professors and stuff about this, and I was just like, oh my God, you guys are
Mm-hmm.
the smartest dudes in the world, and you don't have a
Mm-hmm.
clue what's going on.
Right?
You know,
Yeah.
I was like, oh,
Yeah.
you know, one of
Yeah.
them was saying that doing exercises helps you be happy. You know, we've just done this new research. I was like, you've just done research on this. Well, you're about 50 years behind the fitness industry, because that's
Mm-hmm.
what we all do it for. Come on, man,
Right.
get with the times. Like, you know,
Yeah.
these people are leading the way. It's, you know, it's kind of disheartening. I was like, oh, geez, you know, like, come on.
Right.
You know,
It takes science a while to prove common sense sometimes,
I
especially
know.
when you have to control all of the variables. That's challenging.
Yeah. Look, you know, it's just, life is what it is, you know, and I mean, it's pretty
Yeah.
simple. We breathe, we connect with our breath, we keep moving forward, you know, that's as simple as life is. And if we break
Mm-hmm.
back down to that, you know, we've got a starting point again that we, you know, shit hits the fan, we get back down, we know we're breathing. Yep, we're breathing, so we're alive.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Have a
Yeah.
look at the clock. The clock keeps on ticking. Okay, well, time keeps moving forward. Oh, it's not
Mm-hmm.
going to stop. I've got to keep going. How am I going to
Mm-hmm.
keep going? Well, I've got myself to keep going. Cool. All right. So I've got a connection with my breath, connection with myself, connection with time moving forward. All right.
Yeah.
All right. I'm good. Okay. Off I go. You know, everything starts
Yeah.
again. You know, same as when
Right.
we're born. Smack on the bum. We get
Mm-hmm.
first breath and we're away, you know?
Yeah.
You
Yep.
know, and then we start exploring everything. As a baby, straight away we start exploring everything. You see him looking around, you see him playing with boxes
Mm-hmm.
and cars and things, you know, like they explore everything that there is until we're told how
Mm-hmm.
we should be doing things. And then we're like, huh? The intuition
Mm-hmm.
goes and we forget how to
Yeah.
breathe and we, you know, rely on other people. And, you know, it's just, we got to start bringing that back to ourselves. You know, when we're born, we don't know any different, so we do things intuitively, and that's the right
Mm-hmm.
way we should be doing things, really.
Yeah, a return to the intuitive, absolutely. And
Yeah,
that's what healing is. Healing is a return to the authentic self, which is our intuitive guidance from within.
yeah, that's right. You know, we go on
Yeah.
that full circle. You know, so I say,
Yep.
so what do you think the meaning of life is? And we go on
Mhm.
full circle. That's the meaning of life. We end
Yeah.
up how we begin. You know, we
Mm-hmm.
go through all this. We start off intuitively. We learn all these
Mm-hmm.
rules and laws and this and that and how we should be along our way. And the sort of second part of our life, the third part of our life, we learn how to unlearn everything that we've been told. And then the last quarter, we live life intuitively again, like exploring and doing what we want and getting
Right.
out there. You know, that's why, you know, elderly people buy RVs and go and travel the countryside, you know, like pack up everything. Off they
Right.
go again, you know, they're off exploring again, doing what they want to do, you know. You just
Exactly.
got
And
to get
how
those
painful
things
that
in your life.
unlearning process is, that unlearning phase, how painful that is in your life is a choice.
Yeah.
Just FYI.
Yeah,
And
that's right. You know,
yeah.
and it's, yeah, you know,
Yep.
sometimes that means putting people aside, you know, who have been there all your life. And even though
Absolutely.
they've had such bad energy on your life, you know, it becomes people's comfort zone to have these
Mm-hmm.
people there and to be in that
Yeah.
situation, you know, whether it's volatile or whatever, that becomes their normal, you know. So to be able to separate and disconnect from these people and give
Mm-hmm.
ownership back to yourself, you know, it's you know,
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of what people need to do, you know, and just trust within themselves, you know, and that's what I teach people to do, just to trust within themselves. And I get them to
Absolutely.
step out of their comfort zone so they know what they're made of without pushing them too far. Like I don't get anyone to skateboard across countries or paddle oceans or anything like that, but
Mm-hmm.
you know, just stepping out of your comfort zone just a little bit,
Yep.
bit by bit, you know, whether it's riding a bike to work instead of driving one day, or, you know, going for a run or whatever it is, you know, like there's so many different ways. Eat the hottest chili in the world or whatever it is, you know, like test,
Absolutely.
test yourself every day, you know. And so for me, you know,
Mm-hmm.
at the moment I've got the luxury, like I'm in El Salvador at a place called Mazada Point Resort. And so I'm building the retreat programs here, and it's just, I mean, it's amazing, you know, like I love
Mm-hmm.
this place. It's so raw and real, and the people are amazing, and the ocean's right there. And, you know,
Mm-hmm.
we really get to explore. So people who come here, the clients who come here, you know, they're instantly coming to El Salvador, they're stepping out of their comfort zone. So they're already prepared
Yeah.
for it. And then, you know, the soft guidance of stepping out of your comfort zone along the way for the week, you know, it's, you know,
Mm-hmm.
the change that you see in people from that first day when they introduce themselves and we talk about why they're here, to, you know, 7 days later when they're just like, you know, on the first day they might be, oh yeah, I just wanted to come check it out, but someone told me to come. And then the last day they're like talking like, you're like, oh, right, you know, just
Yeah.
like that empowerment within themselves, you know. And
Right.
again, like we were talking about, just on that subconscious level, to be able, because I've trained people all of my life, you know, the last
Mm-hmm.
27 years, and had all these deep experiences myself. Like I don't share anything that I haven't done myself and
Right.
experienced and explored myself, you know, so it stays authentic. So I know without a doubt, 1,000,000%, you know, and that's why I'm able to do things on such a subconscious level, because
Mm-hmm.
I know and understand it, and I can see in their eyes, and I can see the changes, and I know
Mm-hmm.
when they can go a little bit further or not, you know. Like sometimes they think they can go more and I pull them back. Other times they're like, oh, I can't do it. And then you give them a couple of breathing techniques, facial calming techniques, you know, and they're going off again, you know, they're further and further, you know. But also,
Right.
like, it's got the beautiful ocean here, you know, with waves crashing in every day, you know, and people, and just giving that ocean awareness of understanding that waves come hundreds of thousands of miles to come all
Mm-hmm.
the way in here. And say if you're surfing them or even watching them, you know, they come in, they crash, and no one will ever see them again. You know, those
Mm-hmm.
waves come that far for us to surf in, that no one else was going to surf. and no one will surf again, and no one will ever see again. You know, it came all the way for us, for our enjoyment at that time. You know, and now we watch the next one, but at the same time, that wave's coming and it's not stopping. You know, nothing is going to stop it in its path. It's on a constant movement and constant flow. You know, and then the change as well, and it goes. You know, and the tidal movements. You know, with the moon, with the lunar. You know, having the tides go out and the tides coming back in, you know, and how it affects everything. It's like, that's life, you know. People go, life's tough. That's life.
It's a beautiful metaphor for life.
It's amazing, you know, it's so amazing. And it's constantly moving and shifting. And it's, you know, the more stormier the ocean is, the more calmer we are because there's more activity going on. It's just like when we sit around a campfire, everyone's quiet. Because they're watching that flame constantly move, and the eyes are flicking around. So everyone's essentially doing EMDR therapy. They just don't know. That's just about making them a little bit more consciously aware of what they're doing. Or people watching, you know, the same thing, sitting out front of a cafe in New York or something, and watching all these different sorts of people and cars and trucks and everything going by, like the whole world's just happening in front of them. It desensitizes, and it's calming for us, you know. People relax, sit there, have that coffee, read a book, look around at everyone, you know, and it's just all those thoughts of why we wanted to go to that cafe in the first place, to get out of our head, just come out, you know, and they start desensitizing and filtering.
Awareness, like everything you're talking about is all circles back to awareness. So awareness is hugely important. And that's a theme that comes up on this show a lot is, you know, awareness and the role awareness plays in healing and enjoying life and health and happiness. It all seems to circle back to awareness. Yeah.
And opening up this way, not this way.
Exactly. Yeah. Seeing your periphery. Take off the blinders. We're not, we're not horses in the city. We're not going to get spooked. You're right. So Damien, we're pretty much out of time. So what is your preferred way for listeners to find you or look you up online?
Okay. So you can look me up on Instagram, just Damien Rider, Facebook, Damien Rider, or my website, which is damienrider.com.
Okay.
They're kind of the best ways. And
okay.
If you want to book in for retreats and stuff, just let us know. Or if people want to just reach out and chat about anything, really, I'm open to everything. I get hundreds of messages a week, and I make sure I reply to every single person personally. So give everyone that respect and that time to give back to everyone.
Okay, wonderful. And before we finally sign off, do you have any final tips or bits of wisdom to leave with our listeners today?
Yeah, test yourself and challenge yourself daily, all day, you know, just have fun with it. And, you know, it just builds up your resilience, and it could be small, it could be big, it could be whatever it is, but just test yourself and get comfortable with the uncomfortable, really. And, you know, because then that way your comfort zone becomes a little bit wider every day. And, you know, as I said, you know, life's challenges become fun learning experiences then.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, Damien, thank you so much for being on the show today. It's been an honor and a pleasure to have you here with us and to share your knowledge and your wisdom and your life experiences. And I'm Jennifer Whitacre, the host of Yes And. I'm an empowerment strategist, a trauma specialist. And if you're interested in finding more information about me, you can find me at jenniferwhitacre.com. I'm on Facebook. My business page is Jennifer Whitacre. I'm on Twitter, and I'm on LinkedIn under Jennifer Whitacre. So I will see all of you next week. And in the meantime, please share this episode with people. I know, you know, just that internal mindset that Damien talked about today, those internal shifts. This man has wisdom. So listen to this, share this with your friends, share this to people that you know who are struggling, because there is potential for this to help a lot of people. Have a wonderful day, and I will see you all next week.
We have just concluded another episode of the Yes And podcast with Jennifer Whitacre. For additional resources, please visit our website, jenniferwhitacre.com. Leave a review if you enjoyed the show and find it useful. Until next time, continue challenging conventional thinking and keep moving forward.